Hi, my name is Lily and I am going to be making a recipe. It is a lentil loaf and it is absolutely delicious. It's one of those recipes that has a lot of ingredients, so I know not everybody wants to, but for me it's worth it because it's so good. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the first part. So come on over here to the pan. So this recipe calls for lots of veggies to be sauteed. And I do not use oil. So what I'll do is I'll get my pan nice and hot and I'll know it's ready to go. Come over here close. When I put water on there, you can see it dances around. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use no oil and I'm just going to put my onions in there. And then we're going to move them around. We're just going to keep moving them around. And just let them, now this is what we call sweating the onions. This is going to bring out their sugars and their flavor. And as you can see, there's a little bit of brown accumulating on the bottom of the pan. This is from the sugars coming out of the onions. And I'm just sauteing them around. I guess if I leave them in one spot they would burn, so we don't want that. We just want them to be sweated so they can so their sweetness can come out. Alright, now another thing you can do here when you get this brown on the bottom of the pan, you can add some water. And that, or you can add some vegetable broth, and you can see that it will get all of that little bit of moisture, that brown stuff off, and then you can see it's turning the onions brown. Alright, so we've got our onions, they've been sweated, they're browned up. We're now going to add our garlic. And this here serrano pepper. The recipe called for jalapeno, but I didn't have jalapeno. Now your garlic, you don't want your garlic to overcook and get burned. So we're now going to add some other stuff in here so that there's a little bit more moisture, because these veggies are going to add a little bit of moisture. And if they don't, we're going to add just enough to keep it from burning. And again, we don't want the garlic. That's why we didn't put the garlic in with the onions in the very beginning. We don't want to take any chance that that garlic will burn.
So what have you just added?
Okay, this was celery and carrots. And so I added onions, jalapeno, well actually in my case it was serrano, celery and carrots. Now the celery, well the carrots are not going to be cooked enough to be completely done, but when they go into the loaf, it's going to go into the oven, and so they'll get cooked when the loaf is cooked in the oven. All right, now I've got some oregano and thyme, and now I'm going to put that in there. Okay, so we're just getting all the flavors to go together. And as you can see, there's no brown on the bottom of the pan for the most part, like there was, because there's enough moisture in these veggies that they are not sticking. So I've used no oil. I've only used a little bit of water. And again, you can use cooking sherry, marsala, you can use vegetable broth. But there's no reason to add oil. All it does is add calories and nothing else. No nutrition. Alright, so now that we've got these going, I feel really good about these. These are pretty much started cooking. Alright, so I'm going to move this off of the heat. Oh, almost forgot. I have raisins. We're going to add some raisins in there. Alright, let's get the raisins in there. You know, the raisins are really good in this lentil loaf recipe. You don't really taste bursts of sweetness, but they add something to it because it's really good. I would have thought that I would just bite into a raisin or something in the loaf, but that's not the case. All right, so now I've got these all done, and we're going to turn the heat off, and we're going to let that set here for a few minutes. All right, now we're going to come over to the table. Okay, so here I have some lentils that I cooked up. I used brown lentils, and I cooked them about 20 minutes in some water with bay leaf, and then I added some millet. Let's get a close-up of what millet looks like. Millet is like that little grain that you would see in bird food or bird seed. It is a grain. It's a gluten-free grain. Anyway, so after I cooked the lentils 20 minutes, then I threw in some millet and let it finish cooking for about 20 minutes. Then I drained it, and this is what I've got. Did you get a close-up of this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the lentils are really soft, and that's good because we want them really soft to make a nice loaf. So once we've got them in the bowl, we are going to add our mixture here. I doubled the recipe because in our family, not only do we eat it, you know, by itself like you would a meatloaf, but we also will put it in bread and make like loaf sandwiches. Okay, so we've got that in there, and I'm going to mix it up, and I'm going to want to mash those lentils as best I can. So I'm going to I'm going to mash these as best that I can to get those lentils, for the most part, mashed. They don't have to be 100% mashed, but it holds together better. All right. Now, whenever you make a meatloaf, and you use meat, you usually use eggs to make it hold together. In this case, we do not use eggs. You can use flax seed that's been ground up. You can use it like an egg, or you can use chia seed. Chia seed, if it's ground up, can also cause your loaf to stick together. So now, as you can see, I have a mise en place. I have everything ready to go. It sure makes it easier. All right, so I've been mixing this, and I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add right here. This is a mixture I put together. It's got Worcestershire sauce. It's got ketchup. It has coconut aminos, which taste a little bit like soy sauce. Or you could use tamari, which is like soy sauce. But I use the coconut aminos because I like the way they taste. It's a little bit salty. And then I have tahini in here. Now, tahini is just ground up sesame seeds. Like you would make peanut butter. You would grind up the peanuts and you get peanut butter. And with tahini, you grind up the sesame seeds and you get tahini. So that's kind of what all this is. And I'm going to pour it in here, and I'm going to mix it up. All right, so we're going to mix that all in there. My tahini is kind of, all right. All right, then I'm going to add my chia seed, my ground up chia seed. That ground up chia seed is what's going to make it stick together. It gets real, chia seed, when you mix it with a liquid, it gets gelatinous and kind of holds things together. All right, we're doing good. Now, the next thing is I'm going to add some nutritional yeast. Now, this is nutritional yeast. It's not to be confused with brewer's yeast or active yeast that you use to make bread with. This is different. This is kind of got a cheesy, nutty flavor. And I'm going to put that in there. It kind of helps give some umami. Umami is the 5th flavor. So what do we got? 4 flavors: salty, sweet, bitter, sour, sweet, bitter. What's the other one? Anyways, umami is a additional taste. It kind of, if you were to describe meat and how it has a, sometimes we like the full, the robust, the solid taste. So umami is that flavor that you get when you feel like it's solid and robust. And okay, so that nutritional yeast is in there. All right, now I'm going to add some fennel seed, which I've ground up a little bit. And I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to, it calls for breadcrumbs or oatmeal, and I try to stay away from the wheat myself. Not that I have any gluten intolerances or anything, but I am a little sensitive to it, but not because I have celiac disease or anything like that. All right, so it calls for some coarsely ground oats, or more if you need it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those oats into the blender, and I'm just going to run them through. All right, so this makes an oat flour. And as you can see, you might want to get closer. Can you see? All right. Alrighty, so now just mix it all up. And that's pretty much the last of it. We're done. Now there is a glaze that I'll put on top of it when it's done. And that glaze is made up of ketchup or barbecue sauce, some hot sauce, some maple syrup, and some Worcestershire sauce. And those kind of hot, you got sweet and hot. It's really good on top of this. And you would add that towards the end of it cooking. And if you wanted to, you could even take this, make it into patties and make bean burgers, technically. That is an option. All right, so as you can see, the texture is kind of solid. And we're going to put it in a pan where we have not oiled the pan. It's a glass pan, and we're going to use parchment paper. Parchment paper works wonderful. Food doesn't stick to it. And matter of fact, you can even use it to pull it out of the pan once it's done if you want to. This pan might be kind of big, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in there. These tools right here is the best tool. I love that. I don't have to miss out on anything with that tool. I get to get it all. So, all right. Now we're just going to press it into the pan. We're going to put it in the oven at 375. All right, we're going to pack it down well, and we're going to even it out. All right. All right, now we're going to add the glaze right now, I guess. And the glaze, like I said, has like 4 things in it. Ketchup, Worcestershire sauce. I put some sriracha in it and some maple syrup. All right, I'm going to pour it over it. All right, spread it around. And you can always make more if you like more. And, you know, after it's cooked, I just might make some more glaze so I could put on it. Or I might make a gravy as well that I could put on it if I want. I have some wonderful gravies, plant-based gravies. All right, now it says here in the directions that if I cover the loaf with foil and cook it and then take the foil off and cook it a little bit more, I guess it'll keep it from burning. So that's what I'll do. So we'll get back with you. It's finished. Okay, so when this is finished and it comes out of the oven, I'll let you know how it looks and turns out. Okay, see you in a little bit. Okay, so here we are. It is now taken out of the oven. I've let it rest for a little while. It's still very hot, and as you can see, the parchment paper makes it very easy to get out, and it doesn't stick to the parchment paper. So what I'm going to do is cut some slices. Now you can freeze these slices if you don't eat it all. And I'm going to take it out. And this one here, we'll put it on the side so you can see. All right, so what we have here for dinner is we have our lentil loaf. We have some macaroni and cheese with peas, and there's some cauliflower in there. And we have a salad. So perfect, wonderful meal. And one of these days I'll go ahead and give you this macaroni and cheese recipe. It's absolutely fabulous. You can go online. I think it's called Macaroni and Shews, S-H-E-W-S. It has sauerkraut in it and is absolutely magnificent. So go ahead, and if you're interested in the recipe, let me know. Get a close-up and a little bit closer. Get the texture. All right, there you go. Okay, let's see, what does it taste like? Oh, it is so good. Thanks everybody. We'll get back with you another time.